good refresher. Also, we're gonna go a little bit. Show you guys what we do from within our company. We actually leverage information and gain into different field.
Thanks, sir. Yeah, that's actually pretty good. Majority of us have exposure to AI, which is great. So for tonight, here's a level on how we should envision. It really depends on which track you want to go to, and this is a high level of how we, why we need AI. What do we use it for? How do we even use it? The first time that I got interested in AI is I'm lazy. So a lot of our mundane tasks, like what Jeremiah was talking about, is always trying to think of how could I improve, how could we improve process, how we can improve the engineering concept, not just for engineering concept, for day-to-day activity. Um, how we apply that, or how do we apply AI on what we do daily, even for personal, right? You check your finance, stock market, reading a RSS feed. The goal is, or how to get started, is this chart right here. So the stage one, we're all curious, right? AI is new, right? Although machine learning has been there for quite some time, but this whole AI concept, I'm sure you guys hear about AI every single day, news and forums and such, right? So out of curiosity, on this bottom left-hand side, how do we, you start thinking about how do we improve what we do daily? Again, not just for work, also for personal stuff. So try, pre-made tools that you guys mentioned from Chat GPT, and we get Gemini, we got the Microsoft stuff, AI. So this is how we will evolve eventually. And then the more time that you spend on it, it's almost, I'm sure all of us have been using Google. Trevor mentioned it, Jeremiah mentioned it too. If we don't know anything today, our go-to is always Google, right? Just think about that concept. And I heard this from Jeswan. Then I think I'm just going to go ahead and use our the first time that you asked me, Jeremiah, about how do I even get into this, or how do I get started? Way back when you guys are using Google, right? So you just basically type in, you know, how do I fix X? Problem with Google, it's not the problem. We are so used on looking at all these search results in Google, and eventually, somehow we'll find an answer. Right? AI kind of summarize that for us. So that's what we call the curiosity in play. You keep on, and then the second stage will be your foundational knowledge. Like, okay, I already know how to do some prompt. We'll show you an example later for some, prompting. Although this is not a course for like prompting and stuff, but we'll show you on how we could easily improve the way we prompt. One thing that we would recommend is if you want to go ahead and you could read a lot of courses or books and study guides and how to improve your prompting. But the bottom line is just think about it as treat AI, all the AI, computer based, technology based, treat it as you're asking a person or persons, right? That's how you get the more context that you provide, the more information you provide within the AI, whatever AI tool that you use, the better the results you're gonna have, right? So that's the second stage. Practical stage, then you will dwell more on the practical application, talking to the community and so forth. And then this is the holistic picture of what you could discover eventually. So, and for me, for us, even though we've been using it a lot, we'll show you, showcase you, or we'll do a demo on what we have so far in the NetSec side, so as a different platform, right? So eventually, you'll get into the creative generation, like what the doctor mentioned earlier. I use it for for creating videos, presentations, and so forth. For us, majority of us on the technical side, that will eventually you'll see kind of light bulb moments like, oh, okay, this is what I should be doing. Kind of empowers you, not to be not to be like me, not to be lazy, but to improve your process. So what I do daily that I could do, shorten that time frame so you can do a little bit more. And so our agenda for tonight, right here. Um, and fourth slide into it, we'll show you the web UI, what we believe um, one of the best web front end UI out there compared to, you guys already mentioned a bunch of different platforms. And then also we'll show you the CLI way. What's the command line interface? What does it gives me? Why would I use it? Right. Second is still integration, weaving AI to workflow. A little bit of automation. Jeremiah already mentioned earlier. How do we do our workflow in NetSec tab and some of our automated process? How do we come about of automating using AI? And we'll showcase different real world application. So on the left hand side, we have the web based UI. And then in the right hand side, you get your command CLI. I know for most of you, we started introducing Trevor to the CLI one, but we'll show what are the difference. What could I use to better what I do day to day, or to improve my to enhance productivity. Right. So we'll give you an example of web based. Web based is the one that we all talked about earlier. ChatGPT, you have Gemini, and so forth. Not sure if and some of you guys have done. I know you already got introduced to this one, Trevor. Have you guys any of you guys used a command line AI model before? It's all CLI based. It's kind of boring. There's a lot of typing, honestly.
It looks cool though.
Yeah, it does. It's kind of fast too.
Yeah, like 5 seconds is pretty fast.
All right. Yeah, we'll do a demo on what it looks like and how should we go about it using it. So, for web interface, you guys, we already sort of this is not new to us anymore, except for probably what we use in the tech tab, the Open Web UI. We'll showcase that in a bit. You guys already know the ChatGPT and the Gemini, the Google Gemini web interface. There's a bunch of differences. If somebody asks, like, hey, what is the best AI platform or web platform out there? I personally can't tell you which one's the best. We use our own. However, we still use different platforms. It boils down to what you want to go ahead and accomplish, right? So going back to what Dr. Ramos said earlier, it's more on the Gemini side, but sometimes he fall back on ChatGPT. It really boils down to what you want to go ahead and accomplish. They have so many differences, different advantages. One can be good versus the other, especially if you're using images or video. I'm the same thing. For images, for graphics, I use Gemini. For techies and integration, scripting, coding, I use OpenAI. And at the same time, I use our own to basically put everything together, which you're going to see in a bit. So what are the example of web UI? This is our, we use Open Web UI. It's one of the open source web interface. This is not a AI platform itself. So the Open Web UI is just the front end. So we have to do a lot of integration in the back end, connect them. We pick our favorite LLM or large language module based on what we wanted. So we can integrate any large language from private to any commercial. So one of the key features that we like about this one, and I'll go ahead, and a lot of these ideas came from Jeremiah. Then also, I know you mentioned quite a few stuff, especially in the vulnerability aspect. So we kind of put everything together, so we don't have to keep on switching back and forth. Yeah, there's some parts that it's not fine tuned yet, especially when creating graphics and stuff. We still rely on Gemini, like what Dr. Ramos was talking about. But we'll showcase more of this in a bit, to at least gonna give you guys a live demo. So let's see here. Gemini, great for your working on graphics, from your PowerPoint slide graphics, presentations, and so forth. It's fairly straightforward to use. The more context, the more information that you give Gemini, the better your graphics is going to be. Right? There's your Nano Banana Pro, Dr. Ramos. So I just kind of created this like a few minutes ago. So it's actually pretty neat. And then the way it creates graphic, it's just the speed and unbelievable kind of technology behind the scene is it's kind of crazy. And of course, our Chat GPT, the most known one, the pioneer of AI. So, any questions so far? Then we'll go to our demo.
Questions?
No questions. And we get Alex. Hey, Alex.
Yeah, sorry, I'm late. I had to finish some stuff up before I can. Unfortunately. Well, say I missed the first. Good checks everything. So you were saying that Gemini is kind of like your overlayer, or we talked a little bit in passing how you guys are running some of the stuff, and you're siphoning certain tasks to the different LLMs.
Yeah. So to answer your question, Gemini. Usually, I use Gemini for more on creating graphics, being to some proper presentations. There's a bunch of AI tools out there, web-based, free and stuff. But I found it kind of interesting and actually so much quicker and faster. And of course, it's free for at some point. That how Google or Google's Gemini create these kind of crazy graphic, right? So it's pretty um, interesting in a way that the more context that you give Gemini to build the graphics that you need, this one really, as an example, it just started with, hey, build me a persona of a cyber chick, if you may. Um, this all started with a cyborg chick. I was like, it's kind of like too much, almost like a Terminator kind of look of way. So I keep on putting more context and more detail to it, and until I find the right one. And it's just kind of amazing on how sort of not learn, but whatever programming or the LLM actually does to build this kind of graphics. And before, 2, 3 years ago, when I first started, when we saw Gemini, this wasn't, it's day and night difference. Every single time that they make improvements on their LLM, it's just amazing on how they do it, honestly. So going back to your question, Alex, graphics and stuff, I mean, even for proofreading, documentation, some blog posts that we're doing, both are good, both ChatGPT and Gemini. But the ChatGPT kind of still falling behind in terms of building graphics and stuff. I lean towards Gemini on a lot of graphical stuff, if you may.
That's fair. I mean, ChatGPT's wasn't their introduction kind of what they were trying to get to was real more humanistic, like conversation
Exactly.
and interpretation.
Yep, exactly. especially the 551. It's just amazing. It's kind of like you're actually talking to a person. I mean, it's 99%, and it's just gonna blow your mind on how it actually interacts with you compared to 2 years ago.
Have you used when you say graphics? Are you just talking about mainly like image creation? Or,
Exactly, image creation. Yeah,
and then, have you guys tried creating, I guess, graphics in their charts with live feed data?
Charts, yeah, like in terms of like Excel or trending.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is my personal observation and experience too. I try to do it in GPT-4, not the 5.1. It's not there yet, but you could literally take an Excel spreadsheet, load up Gemini on top of it. If you already have Google or Gmail and you use their, forget, what do you call the spreadsheet in Google?
Google
Not
Sheets.
Sheets, exactly.
Yeah.
Dump in a bunch of data over there and it will actually analyze every worksheet or whatever you want to do from trending to financial. That's another thing too. Thanks for pointing that out, Alex. The once you overlay the Gemini through any of your work within the Google application or their platform, from Sheets to their, again, I forget what they call the doc or the Word documentation. It's actually pretty neat. I did learn, forgot to share that some of the training and stuff that I've done in classes were from Google and Strayer as well. But I found the Google classes um, pretty good from Coursera. But it's through Google's folks. That's where I learned a lot of these prompting and concept and all that stuff. But it's kind of neat the way they integrate all their application and then put Gemini on top of it. It's kind of cool to see.
Cool.
Yes.
One last question, then we'll
Yeah, go ahead.
leave you alone. For now. Are you guys self-hosting a lot of this, or is it just, or is it using the open?
I'm sorry, this particular model right here.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
would love to, but it's gonna be it's gonna be pricey if we're gonna host it. So Ray had brilliant AI. Genius. We don't have to build stuff. We can just do API, and then which is the stuff he's gonna show.
Thanks for pointing that out. So there's two things. So yeah, this is our environment. So this is our production stuff. So the whole concept of this is, again, we tried so many different web front end. We even consult with some developers before, because Jeremiah and I have all these ideas on, like, it'd be nice to go ahead and have, for me, if I want something, I like Gemini better. If I'm trying to do some scripting and I want to review codes, OpenAI or ChatGPT is so much better, right? And then if I want to go ahead and write an email or make sure that I don't send a nasty gram to my boss and make it more a little bit, that change the tone a little bit. So I use something else. So we learn about OpenAI, or sorry, Open Web UI. It's free for some point, but it's a community driven, which means that there's so much community support backend. And I'm talking about from government side, from private sector worldwide, that you could just go to their site and their GitHub and ask all these questions from integration. For example, one good thing, what we mentioned earlier, is how do we integrate all these different models so we can just pick and choose we want. We don't have to keep on switching back and forth to Gemini, to OpenAI or ChatGPT or DeepSeek or whatever we have out there. So for us, this is one of the integration one of the advantages that we find out is we don't have to, we as NetSec type business, we don't have to spend so much money, which we don't have a lot of money, to buy hardware to build our AI platform. Because I'm sure you guys knew the back end of running large language module is costly. You know, from GPU, I think I was asking some of our coworkers today. One of the NVIDIA's top one runs about $2,000 per GPU. I don't even know if that's the highest model. You know more, Alex, about like what's the highest like the graphic or model these days in NVIDIA?
Right now, what people are using for on the consumer base, you're looking at the 5090s.
Yeah, how much
when
those these days?
They're floating around anywhere. It depends on which one you get. They're floating around 17 to $2,100. Right, all the different companies float their own flavor on top of it.
That's a PC price right there.
Yeah, you can build a whole PC with that, but yeah, then you start getting into the enterprise stuff and all the other AI specific GPUs that they're building, and they get up there a little bit more.
Interesting. So, and going back, so thanks, Alex, for pointing that out. As you can see, or sorry, we heard from Alex that the hardware is costly. And again, we're just only talking about one host. So if you just imagine you try to run an enterprise, let's say probably 100 employees, or maybe it's 1,000, and then they all want to go ahead and incorporate your company. Said, hey, let's go ahead and use AI, right? So you have to think about, well, how much money we got and how we going to go ahead and implement it. Second, this is an enterprise. You have to think about security, data privacy, and so forth, right? There's so many laws, and so especially it varies per country, per state, per business model that you're doing. You could just go ahead and go willy-nilly. It's like, okay, you got AI now. Let's go ahead and have that in, right? So going back to our concept, Jeremiah and I going back for like, man, I mean, get used by cervical, and Jeremiah goes like, well, yeah, it's gonna be costly, right? And then plus there's only one machine, right? So we're talking about 5K already for a couple of GPUs, and then plus that's only GPU. Dr. Ramos, if kind of stop us if we're talking so geeky at this point, but you have to think about the CPU, the processing, the memory, the hard drive, the connection. There's so much that you have to add. Is it feasible? Probably not. Right. So
it's fun.
But it's fun if you got a lot of money. Yep. It's fun. So here comes the API. API is this integration of kind of use case basis. If I want to use an AI, that's the only time I'm going to pay. It's kind of like going to the toll road, right? If I'm not going to use that toll road, of course, would you pay toll road like a monthly basis? Maybe if you're using it every day and you do your calculation, your math, like, well, if I use the toll road, especially Greenway, it's so pricey. Would it make any sense to pay every day if you just use it, or you pay a monthly? It depends, right? How often you use it, how many people are going to be using it. That's how you kind of gauge on your budget. So everything boils down to the budget. You can have the craziest platform ever that does everything for you, including turn on your light and then opening your garage door via AI. But what is the purpose and how much it's going to cost me? That's the bottom line, right? So going back to Open Web UI, we can integrate whatever platform, whatever LLMs you want to use. You want to use Gemini? Sure. Here's Gemini. It's through API, meaning that we don't have to spend so much money in the hardware. We can host a server out in a cloud, Amazon, what have you, Azure, and then build our server, harden it, secure it, and then connect all of our languages that we like. Here's our top two. We have the Google, which is right here, and then we got the OpenAI. Once we do through API, Of course, there's a membership for API, but it's not as costly as you're paying $500 a month. Right? It's by token. So I'm introducing a little bit of AI lingo, but tokens are the one that these platform go by. Not as like a crypto, but crypto they use a token. So the amount of words that you type in your your platform, this is what they call it's being tokenized, right? They might charge you per word, but there's different algorithm on how they charge people. So if I use this today, meaning I just kind of pumped in, kind of can you tell me a awareness, so on and so forth, I just get charged by this. If I don't use it, I don't get charged. So that's one of the advantages of you doing API. Jeremiah and I did some cost effective way of doing things too. It's like, okay, does it make sense to do this? Or I told Jeremiah, hey, you know what? API is way, I think, the better approach is more feasible, and it's not going to cost us arm and a leg to go ahead and start integrating all these models to our platform. So that's how we came out about of doing this, right? So another advantage that we like using Open Web UI is you can have multi-model, meaning that you can have two models side by side that you could kind of do the same thing. So if you're trying to compare between different models, you can have different models that you want here and then ask the same question or do the same process. Which one actually gives you a better result, right? So you could actually do this too. So it's pretty kind of neat way of putting things together. You have sort of just think about it. You can create the world that you wanted, right? Instead of switching platforms back and forth. Yeah, there's some little kind of tweaks that we have to do, in comparison with, going back to Gemini. Dr. Ramos and mentioned that hey, doing graphics and stuff is actually pretty neat. So some part of this Open Web UI is still kind of relying on the web front end, the programming scene that it doesn't do graphics. It will say, hey, this is the link, or if you show me where to save the .png or picture, you can fetch it there. So it doesn't the resolution it's not there yet for the graphics, but I'm sure for further updates down the road, we're gonna have they're gonna keep on improving this. Again, there's no cost for us on doing this. It's more along the lines of integrating, configuring it. That's where we spend most of our time trying to configure this. Before I move forward to any questions, I'm going to go ahead and show more like different features that we like.
Yeah, guys. So feel free to unmute and then ask away.
Yes, ask away.
How much time do you think you've spent so far trying to build your configuration to do the things that you want to do?
Yeah, on and off. I don't know. How many, Brother Jay? How many? I don't know.
I mean, it took us a considerable amount of time because number one, we are learning this trial and we make things that's into simple, digestible modules so that we can get them wrapped up, right?
Mhm.
To set this up, it took us a while because we have to do a trial testing, then choosing which front end to use. So we have to build the other front ends, and then we're going to test them. And finally, we ended up using this particular UI, and then integrated the LLMs behind it, and our goal basically is to see how far we can uh, go with the technology today. What kind of use cases we can do, because ultimately our goal is at some point we would like to be able to help organization to automate some of their mundane, repeatable process, customized to their own uh, standard operating procedure, and something that is actually internal to avoid any accidental data leakage outside of the organization. Now, switching back to work, like government agencies, I've seen, talked to a couple of government agencies just deployed Copilot. They have no idea what they're doing. And guess what? The agents, they are bleeding out internal data outside to to the internet. And technology report scan, we identified some agents exposing sensitive information on their own, no human intervention, and it's blown. So it can do more damage than
If, uh, it was it's like they were asking Gemini about programming for some of the source code, and they had export source code to
people using all that GPT. Just put the GPT, then you know what? Read this content, GPT review it for me, and then show me the red lines.
some other things.
No,
I was gonna say at that point, as far as long as it's been uh, in its creation and it's been around, and once it goes to the internet, it kind of sits there. I don't imagine there's any sort of legal vehicles.
yeah. Right now, there's
People
not a
would be
lot.
like, hey, do you guys like? Can you go in and just scrub this data?
Yeah, I mean, so
Pay you for the computation costs or something. That's fine, but
that's the battle because it's meant for so yes, people can keep up with it. Especially like security. There is no way to block GPT unless you have a DLP software. Uh, there's like agent on the live right now, access to the internet. They can access
posted
somewhere. Yeah.
somewhere.
Mhm.
Now, whether people exported it and had to post the copies is a story, but
This is why we're having this class.
yeah,
Because people, oh, you know what? It will make my life so much easier. Let me just upload all of my work to this. It, without any awareness, they, they please, you know what? I'm so to you, right?
Oh man, now there's going to be a whole new section in all of our company security videos.
Yeah.
Yeah, more.
More
More.
quickly, yeah.
Catching up now, but there's a there's a lot of vendors out there to these as well. There's no way to block it. So you have a DLP.
Yeah.
Some type of blocking mechanism now. Actually, I'm speaking from the organization we're aggressively doing the project now to enable blocking. So
Ray, is demo the next part of the presentation? Is demo the next part of the presentation? We've been on this page for a little bit. What are we doing
yeah.
next?
So this is actually a slide in. So the next that we're actually going to be talking about is some integration that we did. So one example that we have is incorporate some of these tools. So before we're like, well, it'd be nice because for us researchers, let's say OSINT, like open source intelligence, right? So if you're a cybersecurity analyst, let's say you look at most of you guys already know this. Hey, there's an IP address in question. Yes, it would be nice back before, LLMs are not mature enough. We don't have much information. I'm talking about like, hey, who is IP address so and so, right? So we thought about like top tools or website that we use daily to do a lot of research. If I'm a malware researcher or I'm a cybersecurity analyst, a certain website kind of showed up, or maybe Dr. Ramos send me a link. Is there a better way for me just to figure out, other than calling that someone who sent link or in an email embedded with a link? It would be nice to go ahead and kind of show like, hey, I want to do automate sort of these analysis, so at least I know already instead of going to Aristotle, checking it out. It takes some time. So we incorporate a couple of the tools that we use daily. One is the Aristotle, right? So maybe we can go ahead and do this. Click on Aristotle, use the tool. Let's say 3322.org, the favorite domains out there. Let's see what they can find. Before, I have to go to Aristotle, find out the domain, click on Aristotle, and it will give me the information that I need. By incorporating these kind of tools, such as VirTotal, within our platform, it'll give us a quick way of analyzing domains. So what is this domain, right? So is this a malware site or what is this really? So as you can see, by typing the actual domain, clicking on the tools that we have, which is Aristotle, it fetched the information of Aristotle, run into our LLM platform. Right now, we're using both Gemini and ChatGPT, and then we could grab the information right away. It gives us a summary, gives pertinent information that we can decide later. Like, nope, I'm not going to click on that link. So that's one of the example also, right? So we also have different tools such as Shodan. Shodan is pretty nice too. We can do the same thing. Shodan is more on the kind of like not offensive way, but a passive way of gathering information. These tools, it's been out there before. It crawls the internet. We can find a lot of information instead of scanning people, especially for you, Jeremiah, and whoever is doing the vulnerability side, Diane as well too, that it's so much easier to find out, like, hey, I don't want to start scanning some of these domains, especially if they're government or military. I want to know more information about it. So since Shodan, kind of high level information of what Shodan is. Shodan is, think about it as a bunch of scanners scattered worldwide. They're trying to find information about what's out there in the internet, from your IoT devices, from your Ring devices at home. It will find it for you if it's exposed in the internet. So that's one of the good part about what Shodan is. So what do we end up doing? We said, let's just go ahead and integrate Shodan in our platform, and we did the same way. So basically, if we want to go ahead and do the same thing, click on our tool, Shodan. Let's see if they can give us more. I don't know if will give us the same information like what we have in Firestone. So, but yeah, these are just the example that we have that, again, using an open source platform, you can do so much. And we haven't even, reached, this is just the tip of the iceberg, what we could do from, incorporating Google Map, Google search is here too. The reason why we have this kind of story behind the scene, back then, it's kind of hard. So a lot of these models back before, it's limited to the date that it was programmed. So it might not know up to today. So we have to do like searching, like, hey, I want to know the date, what's the current date and time in Madrid, Spain, like what we did. Like, I don't know if you guys showed it earlier. Before, it won't tell you. It's like, hey, no idea. But these new LLMs today, it actually has a built-in search function already. You guys mentioned security earlier. Yeah, it almost like your Google in steroids, right? We don't have to do the web search function anymore. I can just say, hey, what is the time in Ashburn, Virginia? So before, this does not work. It won't tell you. Now it basically give you the current time. It doesn't matter where you at. A few years ago, this functionality or the LLMs that we had before, we won't give this as an option. This as an option. It will just basically say, nope, I have no idea what it is. It will give you a link. You go to World Time or whatever, you go fetch it there. But now, so much improvement that happened. It's actually pretty neat. Okay.
Can you compare it to the other time zones?
Yeah, you can actually do like that without any time zone. Yeah.
Ashburn compared to blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Cool.
You can actually have your world time in this platform. You can just basically say, hey, can you give me the top 5, or these are different countries inside, and then I want this every single time.
Tight.
You can do that too. So, Secretary United. And the last feature that we want to go ahead and show you is.
Question.
Yes, sir.
But that you had there, it's 2 different tools, right? But with the same sentence.
Mm-hmm.
You can get 2 answers.
Yes, sir. So this is ChatGPT, GPT-5, and this is Gemini. So you can see.
Is that like?
Yeah. Exactly. So this is the LLM way in the Gemini side, the way they decode it to present you the information. So as you can see, Gemini 2.5 is a little bit older because 5.1, I think it just came out, this year or a couple of months ago?
Who's the owner of the GPT? Is that Google as well?
The ChatGPT is OpenAI. Yep, and then Gemini is Google.
They just did it as a cost saving measure.
Yeah. And by the way, you can also program this like in your prompting, like different functionality for your models and stuff. you could actually present it in different ways. Like, no, I don't like the way it present the information to me. This is one of the prompting example that we have for system prompts. So it will go through your system first, and you can actually see, hey, I want the format to be like this every single time I do order. You could do that too. You don't have to go by what they present to you as default. You can customize this. That's where prompting or prompt engineering kind of comes to play. You can give it a persona. This one can be, if you're into a lot of finance, it can be an accountant. It can be a doctor. Or, I think doctor is a bad example, but whatever you think the persona might be, you can go ahead and start we could make this as just cybersecurity engineer, expert, pen tester, whatever. You can make that as persona as well.
That's cool. Thank you.
It's a, so going back, other than so workspace is kind of neat for us because the what we call knowledge base. This stays within our server. It doesn't go out. So we have when we do resume reviews and workshop and stuff, we could actually look these resume if Jeremiah and I are working with a bunch of recruiters or a company that's looking for people. So we go to our resume stuff and see who's available. We could reference all these resume or somewhere like our database of resume, and we could easily say, hey, within the knowledge base, could you tell me more on easily kind of do this. So instead of fetching out there, instead of uploading, whatever we have a knowledge base is that you will pull it, it'll give you information about Jeremiah. So instead of me uploading my doc, especially if using, you guys already mentioned, should I upload, let's say Jeremiah has a background working in a sensitive project for the government and so forth. Do you want it to upload that unless it's public information to a public platform? Or would it be better to basically, hey, I have this information. Yes, it's not 100%. Some of the metadata might go to the AI platform, which is fine, but at least not my entire files are going to be uploaded in these platforms. So it makes
a question when you get a second.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can you explain to me, like, out of this sentence, right, with this output in your question, what of this is considered metadata?
Metadata, yeah. I think the best analogy is, let's say you're an engineer, you're an analyst as well. If you're looking at the metadata, like IP addresses, certain, so the metadata that goes to the LLM or the the large language module, the GPT and what have you. This is basically what goes to their large language or their platform or their servers.
Gotcha.
They don't know the actual PDF or the actual document or the resume or Jeremiah's resume. But for them, the metadata, helps them out. Think about the Google, right? Every time you search the web using Google, whatever you key it there, that's the metadata that goes to the Google servers.
Okay. That's a great example. Yeah.
Yep. But is it the entire document that Google will collect from you? Not exactly.
Okay. That's a good example. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Another example is previously Facebook and in Instagram, they used to keep the metadata that was attached to some of your photos. When you had taken a photo, and if you had location, all the other data stuff turned on, it wasn't stripping it from your photo every time you uploaded that photo, and the underlying metadata on that photo file, location, your time, the time that you took the photo, and all of this other information. So, and then if you were savvy enough, you could still strip that information from the webpage or somebody's photo. So that's other types of examples of some stuff that you can.
Cool. Thank you.
Yes.
So that's what we have. This is our Open Web UI. You guys are already familiar with the Chat GPT and the Gemini. The next, moving on the automation piece. Let's see here. Device this. So that's all the web user interfaces, right? Any other question before we move to command line? I don't know, we kind of dive into more on the web UI, but command line, what is the command line? It's really command line. Think about it as like back in your Commodore days or your terminal days. It really looks like this. Trevor got some exposure to this not too long ago. And then this is the Gemini. It's also from Google. It's called Gemini CLI. Again, it's more typing. So we'll do a little bit demo in a bit too. But this is the version, it's the current version of Google's Gemini CLI. This is Open AI, your creator of Chat GPT. So this is their version, right? So it's called Codex. So it's not Chat GPT CLI or something. So they name it as Codex. So kind of different. And then the third one is the Claude. So we picked Claude because it's pretty. We loved it. We can integrate it. We're still learning on what it can do. So Trevor and I had an ability to start playing around with it, and then do a little bit more on the usual. And you do X, Y, and Z. And so Claude, it's becoming more popular also, but in the sense for the developers, the scripters, or DevOps people, even for the guys doing pen testing and cybersecurity analysts. So it's actually pretty neat. Right, so command line demo, I'm just going to go a little bit here so we can cover a little bit more. The command line is you guys can see this? Just let me know if you guys can see this.
Yeah, we see it.
See it. So this is the Claude. So this is an example of, remember the integration that we talked about earlier for Shodan? So I'm just going to go ahead and ask, hey, again, this is a lot of, it's more, there's no point and click. It's not the sexy way of doing researching or doing things like the web UI interface. So this is geared towards, again, I get more techie savvy, but one of the powerful features of Open Web's or the CLI platform is it actually sits on top of your server, meaning that you can grab that AI software and install it directly to your machine. You still have to go to API, when you're doing your query and stuff, or your prompting. So it still goes to the different vendors, meaning, or different providers. Your OpenAI, this example is actually from Claude platform. You can have the Gemini ones and so forth. But same concept, but just different interface. As you can see, it's just I basically just SSH to my box or remote to my box and install the CLI AI platform and then dump it there. Another feature of this, which is in the enterprise side, I still don't see it being openly used, maybe for the defenders, the defender meaning, your cybersecurity guys or developers, sure, they could actually use it without what you guys mentioned earlier. We need to provide more awareness, because now this is out there. God only knows what are the developers actually doing today. You guys already kind of hit the topic earlier, right? So here I could easily, if this is my development box, or this is our development box from the enterprise, what do you think in terms of risk that this could do, right? Because this could actually reach to your system. It doesn't matter where it is, even though it is a workspace, meaning that it's only siloed to my folder, my session. you can actually tell the LLM, like, hey, fetch this file from this folder. What if that folder is all payroll information, right? Or there's a lot of PII information, social security, date of birth, and so forth, right? It's kind of crazy enough. I'm just gonna, it kind of blows my mind that now this is out there that anybody could use and integrate it with any system that they like. Right. So again, this is just one of the integration. This query is basically, hey, can you go ahead and search for any port 3389? For those of you out there that doesn't know what 3389 is a remote desktop protocol that you can just remote in anywhere in the world, hitting any systems that are exposed in the internet using this kind of protocol, right? So, but you can actually do this. You can go ahead and query. So this is the different information that is seen. I can see the IP address and so forth. It's kind of crazy in a way. It's a little bit faster than your OpenLM because it's all text-based. So again, this is just an example. It crawls show that it gives us information what we needed. This is great for some of the pen testers out there, or cybersecurity guys that does more on OSINT or security assessment. So this is an example. All of them, the one that we mentioned from OpenAI or from OpenAI, Gemini, and Claude, they do the same sort of kind of feature. Again, one is good versus the other. It really depends on what you want to go ahead and do. Any questions?
I think they're using Visual Studio Code. Do you have to download WSL for Windows before you can usually use Visual Studio Code?
No, not really. Visual Studio actually just runs in your Windows. Just think about it as your PuTTY kind of terminal, so you can SSH to your Linux devices. Yeah. So, but if you want to integrate it, so you have WSL, and then in your WSL, you're running Linux operating system, shell or your PuTTY, you can use Visual Studio Code to basically kind of log into it. We kind of like it because it gives us more integration. It's a lot easier for us to connect to anything that we wanted to, as long as we can connect to it. All right. Hope that answered your question, Trev. I want to make sure I didn't derail you or anything.
Thank you.
All right. It's the command line interfaces. Now we're moving into what else could I do? And now that you have, I'm sure, kind of more ideas coming in to play now, you're seeing a bunch of different features, different platform, what we could do, what you guys could do from here now on, right? So just imagine this is that platform, whatever it is, whatever flavor that you like. However, you want to do more, right? The more that you, again, more time that you spend on these AI platforms, the more kind of light bulb moment will start kind of coming up to you. It's like, hey, I'm actually doing this every single day. Can I do this? Right? Can I do X? I always, when I wake up in the morning, I want to go ahead and read a bunch of news feed for cyber, for vulnerability, for 0-day, or even for financial stuff, right? So I want to go ahead and automate that. And then when I wake up in the morning, instead of me clicking a bunch of websites, reading all the information, or even top news, whatever it is that you do day to day, yes, you can automate them. And we're showing you a little bit of example on how you do it. So basically your AI now, or your platform AI core, will sit in the middle, and all of this different, we call this workflow, you can actually go ahead and do it, right? You can optimize your Excel spreadsheet, your project planning, your communication tool. You can send it to, if you're like Dr. Ramos, that you have a lot of videos that you want to go ahead and send to the masses, either through Facebook, through Instagram, even WhatsApp now. I mean, you could automate that process, then send it to any communication tools that's out there, right? You can even send it to TikTok for whatever, right? Doing the cloud services, data platforms, anything that you can think of, it's actually I won't say unprecedented, but it's just there's so many ideas that will come um, that you could start automating this. We keep on saying automation. What does it really look like? So, as an example, we do have what we call this cloud, and this is our service. Right? So, this is where we automate some of our stuff. Right? So our automation platform, like what we mentioned earlier here, what we can do is we can actually start working on kind of putting things together, right? Um, I know you guys mentioned like, hey, it'd be cool to go ahead and do this. I'm gonna go ahead and start doing some of these workflow, right? So what we could do is kind of automate that process, right? So let's say, for example, before we have to do read up a lot of RSS feed. You guys heard of RSS, right? I mean, it's kind of old concept back in the day. They have a lot of kind of links, right? It's almost think about it as like I have to go to Hacker News all the time, right? I have to kind of look it up. What information I need to what's good for me, what's good for my team, what's good for my business, and what is the critical devices out there. You know, you Jeremiah, and then you guys are along those. You guys offer security services. I'm sure you have to keep up on all of these different CPEs, meaning vulnerabilities, day in and day out. Wouldn't it be nice if I can just go ahead and start automating this, right? Collect all the topics that I want, send it to me, compile it, and then I'll ask my program or AI LLM based on what I wanted. I don't want to see anything. I want to see certain topics that pertains to me, to my company, to my client that we're trying to protect, and then organize it and then send it to me either through Discord or through an email. So this whole concept, the result of this is basically this. So we will gather all the information or platform will gather all of these info through the feeds. It goes through its motion, goes through its workflow, it will merge them together, and then we have the LLM chain saying, hey, do X, Y, and Z. And then once you're done, go ahead and post it in our Discord channel. So now the end result is like this, right? Every single day, it will trigger an alert. It's almost like your Outlook or any trigger mechanism that you have. When it reached that threshold or that trigger, meaning like midnight, every midnight, go ahead and fetch the internet. I want these sources only because I know these sources are legit. It's not from some random website, and pull that information from me, run it to your large language module, whatever platform you choose, and then send it to me. So this is the actual results now, instead of Jeremiah and myself reading through a lot of data every single day, and 2, 3, 4 hours later, be like, okay, what did I just read? I'm sure I already forgot what I read 30 minutes ago, right? So this will give us a good picture of what we need to focus on a day-to-day basis. It's customizable. You can practically send it wherever you want to. You don't want Discord? Sure. You want to send it to mass email to everybody? That's not a problem as well. So you can start doing that. If I got videos that I want to send by X point, it will the platform will fetch it for you, do its thing, program it what it needs to do. Or you don't even have to automate it. Send it to me first. I want to preview it. And then when I'm done, I'll send it back here and then send it to my mailing list or to my Discord, to my YouTube channel, or to my Instagram feed, whatever you have. So we sort of kind of automate some of the process that we do day to day to make our life a lot easier. The question that makes kind of sense. Hope, I hope we didn't lose you guys. What was that? This is called again. It's N, so it's open source. A little bit of programming, not really programming. It's one configuring. So you can host it to any server that you like. You can even host it in your Mac if you want to, and then basically run to your. It's almost, remember back in the day when we called it playbooks, right? So it's almost the same thing. They have a lot of templates that you can start on from doing Telegram, doing YouTube. They have a bunch of kind of concept that you could start working on. A little bit of caveat: it's not as point and click. If you work on workflow with a little bit of not really programming, it's all Node.js or the mini JavaScript, but it makes your life a lot easier. The programming concept too is pretty straightforward, and that literally you just do a lot of, drag and drop. I want to see this data. After it goes to this data, it goes to the next one. So it's pretty intuitive. That yeah, it still takes a lot of time, kind of learning curve, but once you know, what we suggest is basically, hey, if I want to automate X, how should I do it daily? Once you figure out, I mean, you guys already know what you want to do, then you can start building these different blocks, right? From data flow, a trigger, an app. So every single app that you can think out there. I think you even have gratitude, festival, anything that you can think of. They vet a lot of their apps too. Their apps is mainly integration, right? But there's so many templates out there that you can start off with, and then you can build your automation there. The last thing that we want to show also is our resume. We have a resume review, and it's the resume review. This is it took us for a while to kind of build this because somebody will send us a resume. Here's our use case. People will send us resumes like, "Hey, I'm looking for a job," or "Can you, Jeremiah Ray or NetSecTap, evaluate or review the resume for me? And I'm applying for X job. Am I qualified for that, or what do I need to tweak? I did this some training and so forth." So this is one of our ways to make it a little bit easier for us. Instead of reviewing 5, 10 resumes every single day or every single week, then we can tailor it based on what we want to. This flow is basically, they'll send us an email. It goes to these workflow. We'll filter all the junks. It grabs the message. It takes out the attachment from the email. It saves it to our OneDrive. And then it can extract it. If it's not a format that we wanted, it'll just basically kind of reply to the message and say, hey, make sure that your attachment is PDF or Word doc. If it's not Word doc, send it back to us, because we want to make sure that we're not sifting through any single files out there, because it might be a malware. We don't know, right? It might be a virus. And then it's the same concept. It goes through our AI agent. We're using Google Gemini as a model. We configure our AI agent to basically extract the information that we needed. Again, it's customizable to what you wanted. So then after it's done, either this one will just post in our Discord channel that Jeremiah and I could kind of look at, and then see that what information or what we need from this resume. Is it doable, or is the candidate qualified for the position? Let me see here. Where do we dump the resume review? I know I just had it here not too long ago. Uh, so, resume reviews. So, and this is the sample format, right? So we have an example, Mr. Charlie Bolton, and then it runs through the flow that we have here, and then will give us a nice summary of if Mr. Bolton is actually a strong fit. So as you can see here, 20 years of experience. If we have a recruit company looking for a senior level network engineer and has a security clearance, it actually passed what we're looking for. Okay? And then we engineered our LLM to kind of give us a sort of a verdict if it's a strong fit or not. So instead of us reviewing 5, 7, 8 resume, Jeremiah and I can just pick up like, oh, okay, let's go ahead and talk to Mr. Charlie Bolton to see if he's interested or if the company is interested in talking to him. Kind of makes it a lot easier for us. We can even do the same thing. Again, it's not just for cyber people, but you can tweak the automation or the NNA workflow based on what you want. And you basically have the same workflow, customize this to what you want. And just the workflow will just work for you. And this is not automated, it doesn't go back. It goes to myself or Jeremiah, and then we can review them and we can start talking to people. Stuff. Any questions?
Yes, I got two.
Yes, sir.
One is N8N containerizable.
Yes, you can run it. At least we know it. You can run it in Docker.
Cool. Easy's on that one. I'm looking at this and it looks like your agent is staged. It says your agent is staged right there, but where is it kind of staged to be able to grab the information and then the flow? Does it hold its own like API account, log in with limited specific permissions, and yeah, so I imagine I have a good idea where it's staged, but I haven't built any of my own stuff, so I don't know where you really plop that bugger down in your infrastructure.
Great question. So let's say this Microsoft, you have to have a Microsoft API account. So this Microsoft basically, it will connect to your Microsoft account through API.
Okay.
So it's all API driven. It logs into, just think about it as you're logging into your, not your just mailbox, but your Microsoft account. That's where it's in, I think, Azure portal. But every single account you can do API, so it's more secure. It doesn't mean that it has access to everything that you have in your Microsoft account. So you can literally say, this account only reads or send email. You can limit it to this account to have access to my calendar. So you can have your workflow saying, hey, every single time that this candidate is good, go ahead and schedule an appointment, go to my calendar, and then send me an email. It can even send an email back to the candidate saying, hey, what is your availability? Click on these several time slots that Ray or Jeremiah is available. You can do that too. But yes, every account or every, I won't say vendor, but if you want Outlook, it's through, these are all through API. The same account have access to our OneDrive, right? And then flying the message, of course, is basically kind of the same thing. You allow that account by API or via token through Microsoft saying that, hey, yep, this account has access to send and receive email messages. And then from your Gemini, it's the same thing. So you have to have a Google Gemini API account, you integrate it here. So everything's through authentication. But once you've done that, the system automatically fetch it using the token that is provided, one-time usage for that session, and it comes back.
And when it's just kind of like when it's idling, it just I assume we received email with whatever subject, whatever head will trigger another event within the Outlook API.
Yeah, exactly.
And wake the agent up and pull that info and do all stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can basically pull email every minute or certain things that triggers through subject line, say resume, then you can do that too. So not all it's not going to sift through a lot of your emails within that day. So you can just say every minute, and then if the subject is equals to something or to resume and it has attachment, go ahead and run that to my workflow. If it doesn't match your criteria, I'll just drop it.
Cool. Is there anything to be missed?
Yeah, there's a lot of trial and error. So you have to have certain criteria that you have to meet, not just subject line. Because let's say, for example, I send a doctor who sent me an email. He just said resume, but there's no attachment to it. So you don't want that to be processed, and later on, this workflow will start saying, "Well, I don't have any attachment. That's not going to work."
Yeah.
Right. So it goes to evaluations, and it goes to the workflow and execution. You can actually see what happens, if there's any error. There's still a lot of trial and error. It depends on what you want to go ahead and capture. But once you get to, start small, see if it works. Like, yeah, I got an attachment, but of course you don't want a lot of attachment, or you don't want every attachment out there, because you want to stay away from malware. You want to stay away from, I can read the documentation. It's a text file, so on and so forth. So you want to go ahead and start filtering those in the very beginning before you pump that to your workflow.
All right. I have another question if there's time for it.
Yes, sir.
So earlier you were talking about news was a good example, and going through all the different articles and then reading a bunch of stuff that just isn't necessarily what you're interested in. But another, so if you ask to go head sweep and scoop for certain subject matter, things that are on the internet, there are a number of things. Like, let's say you go to the New York Times or any news site, and you scroll through some articles, and then they're like, "You hit your one free article limit for the day. Subscribe here to be blah, 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 that stuff." Do a lot of these agents kind of circumvent those paywalls, pull that information, or um, is it also stopped by some of those account blocks? And if it does get blocked, are you able to integrate some of your own subscriptions into things to pull information that you are particularly interested in?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, the paywall, it actually blocks it. So just because it crawled the internet, it does not. But although in the cybersecurity, there's a way around it. But a lot of these, like once you go to the automation piece, that's what you saw earlier. It requires an account so that it can log into our Discord. It can log into your, um, to your Outlook or to your Microsoft account. It can log into using your API, LLM by API rather. So everything requires a token. So if you want to go ahead and just point this to a website, yeah, the RSS feed is good because RSS feed out there, they're all free. You basically just grab the data and pull it down, right? But if you want to go ahead and start like what you mentioned, the Washington Post, the New York Times, if there's certain kind of article like, oh, nope, you can't do it anymore, right? So let's say I want to go ahead and start integrating it with, um, you know, basically, in other words, yes, you have to have an account. So it doesn't kind of do it for you. Could you try to circumvent that, Bill? I'm sure there's a lot of ways you can do that.
I was trying to do nothing illegal.
You don't want to, say, Cybersecurity. Try to shower.
Just trying to.
These days, but yeah, especially if you're trying to provide some service or if it's your personal use, I'm sure there's a way you could go ahead and do it. But yeah, it still limits it. But
That's still kind of, it's all sort of scary. Just that one agent having keys to the kingdom.
exactly. So, but again, these are just a sample more ones, but yeah, it's kind of crazy, especially I mean now, sure, after these different things that we went through tonight, there's a lot of ideas that you guys could think of right now that you could actually be doing, making on these decision making or allocating of your resources, personal resources, your time per se, right? Your team's time. I mean, there's a lot of it's basically never ending, right? I mean, it's limitless. Yes, before 5, 7 years ago, I was like, but now it's just. I mean, you could keep on spinning ideas and say, hey, I wonder if this one works. So, core process, some predictive analysis, anticipating failure. Um, for example, like, hey, instead of you looking at events or logs every single day, you could use AI to basically say, hey, when it reaches a threshold, so I get a bunch of errors, can you tell me how can we make sure that we don't go to that time frame that my system is gonna it's not gonna work out. Right? Development of access personal land. I mean, there's so much things that we believe that you could do. Not to replace again. We say this, and Jeremiah can attest this too. Don't think about it that it's going to go ahead and replace what we do day to day. Think about it as how do you enhance? What do you do on a day-to-day basis, or your team, or your company? Well, enhance that process. Free up your valuable stuff so your other people or you yourself can learn something else. Right? You can focus on any initiatives that you wanted. Right? All that mundane stuff that you've been doing day to day. Isn't it nice to have some automation? Because you can still control it. It doesn't mean that once you program it, it's just going to go ahead and be Skynet and it's going to start taking over. We have the ability to make it work at the same time, still insert that human intervention before it start making decisions. It's really up to us. Can it do it by itself? I mean, Trevor and I could kind of see earlier the example that we're just goofing around earlier. Say, hey, I wonder if this machine Claude 1 can talk to Claude 2. We saw some process actually going back and forth. We're not there yet, but we saw the possibility like, oh my God, yeah, it's possible that you can just tell Claude 1, hey, SSH to this box and then go ahead and fix our problem. Right? So it's kind of doing it. We're not there yet, but it's an option. Before, can you tell computer A, to talk to computer B and say, hey, computer A, fix computer B? 10 years ago, that's impossible.
Hey, fix your guy.
Exactly. And then, today is like, we wonder, maybe, we have this problem in computer B. Hey, Claude A, can you fix Claude B? And it's got to start doing it. I mean, right, Trevor? This is what we experienced today. We're like,
Yep.
oh, really cool.
Really.
And like, oh my God, like it actually kind of works. We still have to do some human intervention because kind of got lost in the translation of what exactly we want to do. So it kept on going to the loop of, well, tell me what you really want me to do with computer B, right? So once you start guiding it and tweaking your context and your prompt of saying, well, this is the problem, this is what we want to do, and it's starting building off of that information and building its knowledge and kind of guiding how what we exactly want or how we want computer B to get fixed. So yeah, if you can ask me 10 years ago if it's possible, I would say no. But today, yeah.
It could have been. If AI didn't drop off the mat back in early '90s and late '80s when it was really starting to come into the world, we could I feel like a lot further even now. Although maybe that's not a bad thing. Yeah, gave us some golden ages of the internet. Thing. Oh, a thing to note. I think it's just really just a comment on it. I agree with you, and I think a lot of people are really worried about losing their jobs in the security environment to artificial intelligence. But as all of these models and applications and APIs begin to be able to talk to each other, that's just it's flooding networks worth of network support, so flooding them with a bunch of data that would take any average analyst weeks, months, or years to sift through. And yeah, I don't think we have a problem. It's just bolstering all that stuff. But now they're going to start being able to talk to each other.
Okay.
Offline, I do have some ideas I want to work on stuff, but
Yeah, definitely. Just
for over our time slot here.
yeah, you know where to find us. Any other questions, Dr. Ramos?
I'm good. We've been having about 7 people in and out of YouTube tonight, so it seems to be a very interesting presentation. So thank you for that.
Yes, sir. Any other go guys?
Oh, good. Good, interesting. Thank you.
Yep. You good? Brother Jay?
Yeah, if you could put that again, Ray, the QR code, so they could kind of see, try to close the loop on that. Guys, if you remember, one of the things that's really important to us is that we're using the power of clicks, the power of YouTube to feed veterans, homeless people, and kids. So we're just asking for a subscriber to our channel. The one in the right is mine is the one that we use for doing that. The one on the left is for the technical guys. So yeah, so if you guys could help us with that out, it would be really good. So if you take a minute, take your phone and just point at the code, you should be able to get to the channel. And every subscriber really helps. We've grown by almost 80% in the last 2 weeks because we just got it started. But one click at a time, one subscriber at a time, we're gonna get there. You have anything else to say, Ray and Jeremiah?
So, don't worry. Jeremiah will just send you guys the bill. No, but all kidding aside, it's free. It's just so if you go to Open LLM, that's the tab. I'll send you guys the info. Just register. We'll get you guys access, and you could use both language between Gemini, the latest one that they have is available, so you guys can start using it.
Yeah, I logged in last night, but I was not able to use it at all. So probably I'll play some more with it because I have a project that I'm working on. Thank you for that. Back to you.
Time tonight, and I hope you guys enjoyed it.
Thanks. Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much.